guys, I'm going to follow the American dream and go to the US. I actually started working around 10 or 11 years old. Is this life? It's just constant failure, constant failure, constant failure, constant failure. Got to America and I got ghosted. I spoke to 900 construction companies and 899 companies said no.
How does an entrepreneur get out of all of this?
It's Wasta under the umbrella of community.
What's a wow moment in your life?
I've been sleeping on people's couches. I love sleeping. Sleep is really where I really make those key decisions.
It's an interesting way to look about it.
What we're doing was completely wrong.
How did you make it work?
Wasting someone else's life, get divorced. I can get away with using the word Wasta as an expat. No, you can't use that. It's a very dangerous word. Remember, I'm not Arab. Boom. People love the name. Boom.
I downloaded Wasta. I'm still on the wait list. I need to get it.
You need Wasta. Now I run the show. I want a coffee. I want to go. I'm done.
Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of the AI Best Business Show, the show where you best learn about money, entrepreneurship, and tech. Today with me, I have an interesting guest, started many ventures, Shyam. Shyam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Shyam, looking at your profile and doing some research, you have a very interesting background. What I like to get maybe out of the 2, 3 minutes of the podcast is what's a wow moment in your life? What's a moment people watching us would never forget about you?
I think, when you go back to look at every entrepreneur's life, it's always started with some sort of adversity. And no doubt with me, there have been many, many adversities that have come to light, which have really taught me the lesson to then eventually get to where I am today. But I think the funniest thing is, and I'm sure my friends will probably watch this podcast, but the last 2 years, and people probably don't see it day to day and obviously on my Instagram, but I've been sleeping on people's couches, both in America, in the UAE and the UK, just to get by. And I would say the last 2 or 3 months, I finally found my own place where I'm renting, and I'm actually seeing some really good traction with my businesses. So it's more of a rags to riches journey that I'm going through, or just coming towards the end of.
Okay. Let's go back to your journey and going from sleeping on people's couches all the way to renting your own place and having good traction in your businesses. Do you have the same 24 hours as us? Because, I mean, looking at your profile, you have the PMC, you have Wasta, you have Workpanda. How do you make sure you're managing all of this? Like, what's your time management? How do you manage all three businesses?
I think for me, it really comes down to my work ethic and the way I see my day going and how I see the conclusion of my day and planning all of that out. I don't think two people are the same. I think everyone has their own routines. Like we just spoke before this podcast about your routine and what time you wake up. I love sleeping. I need to spend 7, 8 hours a day sleeping, concentrating, rejuvenating, replanning in my head. There's a lot of things which go in my head that I need to think about before I even wake up. Okay. So for me, sleep, and I'm sure a lot of people also say this, is the most best thing, the key thing in my life, sleeping. I don't do 4 a.m. club, 5 a.m. club, 6 a.m. club. It's sleep. Sleep is really where I really make those key decisions. And then in terms of the rest of the day, it's really like prioritizing. By trade, I'm a project manager. I have built many different projects across the UK and UAE. And those skills that I've learned in my career and in my day job have really planted the seeds in my personal life and really managing that to the second or the minute. So when you ask me, or when you've asked me, like, how do I manage everything, that I do? And I do a lot of things. It's really picking and choosing the necessities in my day and splitting that up with different tasks, because I certainly can't do the same task for half an hour or an hour. I'll do half an hour, I'll switch to a different thing, I'll switch to a different thing. And if you look at your day and you reflect on your day, I'm sure you will do things in piecemeal rather than spending 2 or 3 hours. And that's what I do. I break up my entire day and then I sequence it in a way where I get the maximum output.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to look about it. You mentioned you were a project manager before getting into kind of the tech world. Uh, Tell us more about that. Like, what do you as a project manager? And I'm really interested to know what are the similarities between being a project manager, being an engineer, and being an entrepreneur. We see a lot of, we see Steve Jobs, we see Mark Zuckerberg, we see a bunch of really big entrepreneurs being engineers at core and then building great products. What was your experience as a project manager, and then
Yeah.
similarities between the tech world
Yeah.
and project management?
I'll go back and just give you a little bit of snip about my personal life before I go into my career, because they both go hand in hand. So I actually started working around 10 or 11 years old. And I've always been fascinated by construction, building things, Lego, Connects, things where I can build things out of boxes, cardboard boxes, or cereal boxes. Like I'll build something. It didn't make sense. I would stack things up. I would do different things. I'd color things in. So there was always a correlation between things were going in my head, which I still don't know about, versus me doing things like building things. And so that has always kind of resonated in my head. Obviously, starting work at 10, I was sweeping construction sites just because I loved to be around buildings. And then going on from there, pursuing my passion both in education and also in the practical world, I've just kind of used my passion to actually gain that level of experience and in turn build those skills. From a very young age, I've been very passionate about the things I love doing. And it's from there which kind of have snowballed into the world of work. So coming to the world of work, I've always worked in construction, building mega projects. So shopping centers, hospitals, luxury islands, hotels, high-rise towers. And it was building those skills from my adolescence that have really got me to really thrive in the built environment. Going on onto that, it's really looking at those personal skills, the project management skills, organization skills, working with different people, being thrown into those environments where you have to actually build on those skills have really kind of helped me to bring the best out of me, and then obviously all the entrepreneurial things I'm basically doing. Jack Ma basically said that between 20 and 30, you work for a big business. You
Right.
learn the processes, you learn the sequences, you learn the hardware, you start from the bottom. You work with a good manager. From 30 to 40, you start something for yourself. You've learned the processes, you learn the procedures, you've done all the things that you probably didn't want to do, but you've got the skills now to then develop it, once you're a little bit older. And then 40 to 50 is you grow that. You maximize it, you make your $1 billion company if you haven't done it in your 30s, but you grow it. And then after 50, you give back to other people. You give back to the community, you tutor, you mentor, you do basically different things. And this is not to say that I'm following exactly what Jack Ma has advised, but I see a very big correlation that in my 20s, I built the skills. I was relentless. I would do things that a lot of people wouldn't want to do. I put my hand up for every opportunity, traveling abroad, working on different projects. And it's bringing all of those skills and my passion, my enthusiasm all in one, and then building that throughout my career journey.
Okay. Um, it's kind of a question. Are you a big believer in what Jack Ma said, or would you like to see more entrepreneurs taking risk earlier in the 20s, building their own startups or building their own hustles earlier in the 20s? Where do you fall on the spectrum?
The thing is, I'm not a startup founder. I'm a
Okay.
corporate guy. I'm a
Okay.
guy who has a lot of ideas. I never understood how to actually get a product into market. I didn't know anything. I'm a corporate guy. I'm the guy who holds a leather notebook and a nice Parker pen, and I go down there, right? I'm wearing a nice tie. I have no idea about the world
Mhm.
of entrepreneurship. I don't even know how the world works. Well, back then, now I do, but back then, I was in this 9 to 5, cushion safety net where, I'd get my paycheck every single month. I was learning the skills, I was willing, wanted to develop myself. But once you get into that that routine. You know, you go to school, you go to college, you go to academic life, university, you go to your first job, blah blah blah. I was following that trajectory, and everyone was like, no, you can't do this. My parents like, no, you can't do this. My friends like, no, don't do it. You need the money. You need to buy a house. You need to get married. And, you know, towards a certain stage, I was becoming rebellious because I'd done so well in my career that I was thinking to myself that I'm only 26 years old. You know, I've got a car. I own the best watches. I travel business class everywhere. I do all this kind of stuff. Is this life? Is this everything? Right? I work for the biggest companies. You know, I've worked in the UAE, I've worked in Saudi Arabia. Like, where else do I want to go? What else do I want to do? And so, in a short period of time, I achieved so much that upon reflection, I was like, there needs to be something more. There needs to be something where I can actually utilize everything I've learned in the real world. And
Right.
that's really where the journey and the chapter has begun when it comes to entrepreneurship.
Okay. When you worked in project management construction, both UAE and Saudi Arabia, and recently you've started the PMC. Uh, what is the PMC? And I'm asking this because I want to understand your idea of where's real estate standing and like the real estate construction market standing today in the region. What are the trends you are seeing through PMC and through your previous work lens?
Yeah, yeah. So to give the viewers a context to what I do. So after leaving construction after 10 years, I've worked for the largest consultancy firms and public development companies in Saudi Arabia. So my whole career is around what you see in Dubai and Saudi today. Projects like NEOM and the Red Sea Development Company and, you know, Roshan and everything that's going on in Saudi. I've had exposure to that at a very, very early stage. It's only now these projects have come to fruition, but I've had
Wow.
exposure to that for the last 3 years or more than 4 years actually. And then in the UAE, I've been exposed to some of the biggest hotel projects, healthcare projects, and high-rise development projects here in the region as well. So it gives you context to my knowledge and understanding of the region and what's basically going on. So in synopsis, I have created 3 different companies. One is a recruitment company called Workpanda, which is a failed business. It was a construction tech recruitment company to support the growing needs for the region to find talent, blue collar and white collar, but we moved to white collar after because projects are versatile. You always need architects, engineers, designers, interior designers, project directors, but finding these people in a very transient region is the single most difficult part every single company faces. And so this is why we started it. In hindsight, it didn't work out, and we can delve into that, later in this podcast. But it didn't work out, and then we flipped that into a traditional model. The second element is Wasta. So I think Wasta, spelled Wasta, same as my hat. The Arabic meaning being the connection. In Hindi, widely in India as well, means exactly the same thing. And parts of Africa, it means the same thing. It means connecting people together. There has been some connotations to brown envelope, corruption, but for us, for me, for amongst all of our users, Wasta, the definition of Wasta is changing amongst the region, where we want to start creating meaningful conversation with people who share the same goals, interests, and objectives. And this is underpinned through technology. So it's building communities that really share the values. And what we're seeing in the Middle East right now is a coming togetherness, which we haven't seen for decades, centuries, where there is a real need for the Middle East to come together. And Wasta, as a technology company, is bringing that together. And then lastly is the PMC, which is basically bringing my passion of people, communities, and construction to support the growing need for businesses to scale and to move into that new office, to support them with leasing, to support them with project management support, to introduce them to contractors, to introduce them to furniture providers. You know, if you're moving into an office and you're not from this space, like, where do you start? Like, who do you find? You know, so it's really there to support the region's growing need to support clients, whether it's co-working spaces, whether it's office space, food and beverage, so on and so forth. And so we're bringing these businesses together under the umbrella of community and to really solve these microeconomic problems through various problems that we see within our micro community, if that makes sense.
It does. I want to go back. You mentioned something that's really important, which is failure at your first at Workpanda. Uh, what did failure look like, or where did you fail,
Well,
and what did you learn? What did you
yeah,
learn from these failures?
I think, listen, failure didn't just happen at Workpanda. Failure happened all the way from childhood. Building things, not working out, not getting the grades that I wanted. It's just constant failure, constant failure, constant failure, constant failure. So everyone, including myself, is prone to failure. With Work Panda was the biggest slap in the face ever, because it was me thinking that I could do something and not really understanding the depth of the problem.
Okay.
It was a it was me. If I go back, it was the corporate me, the someone who could just be like, I've got an idea and throw money at it. And I think a lot of people in my shoes back then, or people who are coming into the startup world, do this. They're like, hey, we need a marketing person, we need someone to develop our tech, and we run it like a corporate machine. The
Right.
thing about startups is you cannot keep that corporate mentality and build a product in the real world, because the whole environment, the whole, speaking to customers, understanding how to build the product, how to go to market, the money you spend, all of that's completely different. And so to give you some insight, I saved a considerable amount of money in Saudi to eventually go out and build my own project. I thought I knew it all. I've worked in construction, I know the market, I know what people want. And I was building this massive theory in my head that I have got the next best thing. I want to IPO, I want to ring the bell, the NASDAQ bell, I want to do all of this stuff, right? And I set out and I went about it the wrong way, all the way from outsourcing. So I outsourced a lot of the tech. I didn't even know what I wanted to build, but I just wanted to tell everyone on LinkedIn that I was building the next best thing. So, I went out there, I outsourced it. I ran it like a construction project. So I tendered it out. We got to a price. I said, sod it, gonna go forward. I started building this, right? Started building this app. Mind you, I was working at the same time. So I was working and building. Started pumping more money in, and variation orders came down. Sham, look, you need this feature, $7,500. You need this, $6,500. You want this
Wow.
button, $4,500.
Wow.
And I was basically just in choosing and building this makeshift thing in my head that I thought was the product, just by looking at the aesthetics of it and having a good landing page, but not really understanding what I was building. So I kept on pumping money, kept on pumping money. COVID came. I basically handed my resignation in. I was like, guys, thank you, but no thank you. I'm going to go start my own venture. Built a product, spent probably about $150,000 on it with 0 customers. So I got this product. I'm not a tech guy. I'm like, what am I supposed to do now? I've got this product. It's running on tech. I don't know how to use it. I don't know how to function it. I've got no customers, nothing. Launched it in the market. The good thing about me is that I love networking and I know a lot of
Right.
people. So I tried my best to utilize my network to really get to getting some early adopters, people who'd actually use it, test it, give me some feedback. I spoke to, considering I know a lot of these construction companies already, I spoke to 900 construction companies, and I
Wow.
kid you not, 900 construction companies across the Middle East, Europe, US, and 899 companies said no. And they were like, this is not going to work. You're too slow. It looks good, but I don't think it's going to work. And this is where the naysayers came in. So this is really where the slap in the face came in. So not only was $150,000 down, but I also had to spend money maintaining this. And I had no customers. No one was giving me feedback. Somehow I got the architects of Museum of the Future to endorse me, to use it, and to find talent. But what I was doing in the background was manually trying to recruit people through LinkedIn, get them to sign up on my platform, and then basically tell the recruiter, hey, look, they've signed up to this platform. But the people I was finding were nowhere as good as the people that they requested. And it
Wow.
took me at least 7 days because I had to rewrite everyone's CV onto the platform. So I was doing everything manually, and then realized that I just couldn't keep up with the traditional recruitment companies. Eventually, it didn't work out. And we were also applying for accelerator programs like YC and Plug and Play and Techstars and all these other opportunities that the startup ecosystem provides, not knowing what it is. It was just, oh, we'll give you $150,000 for 7-8%. So naive as I am, we went to America and tried to launch it with a prominent accelerator program. I shut down shop in the UAE. I gave my rent away. Sorry, I closed down my accommodation here. I closed down my business here. I kind of severed ties with all my friends and saying, guys, I'm going to follow the American dream and go to the US to launch this amazing platform that everyone's going to love. Still in the corporate mentality. Joe Biden's coming out with this infrastructure plan. It's 1 trillion. I just need 1% of that 1 trillion to be a multi-millionaire. Guys, I'm going to be rich. Went to America thinking I'm going to sign this amazing deal with this amazing accelerator program. They're going to set me up. I've already seen some of the exits that these guys have done. I was almost telling my friends, guys, quit your day jobs. I'm going to finance you. Got to America and I got ghosted. So the accelerator program ghosted me. We already had 8 interviews in Dubai. They ghosted me, and I spent 6 months traveling across USA, trying to launch this product. I went to Miami, I went to New York, I went to Boston, I went to San Fran, I went to LA. I was there to hustle. I have a ridiculous mindset. You know, I'm tenacious, I'm go-getting, I will do everything to make it work, and it just didn't work. And I was like, why? Construction is 6% to global GDP. It's one of the biggest sectors in the economy, in the global economy. Why don't people want to use this platform? It will do everything. It's LinkedIn, but for construction. But again, I was living in my head. I was living that corporate mindset. You know, I built this product without even speaking to any customers. You know, I didn't even know what Tam Sam Som meant. Everyone was just like, yeah, what's your market size? I'm like, I don't know. I just made it up. I was just like, yeah, it's like 6 trillion, like whatever. They're like, that doesn't make sense, because when you're speaking to VCs, like, you know, they know the numbers. They can really churn what you're trying to say, and whether you're bullshitting or whether you were actually, you know, telling the truth. And by then, I wasn't a seasoned founder. I'm still a corporate person. I'm just trying to paint this fuzzy picture of why people should buy my product, which was ultimately wrong. So 6 months in the US, didn't work, got rejected from YC, got rejected from basically everything that could be on this planet. We applied for everything. We spoke to 20 or 25 of the biggest investors across the world who are in construction tech, and they all said, no, it's not going to work. And so me being naive, it was really just chasing a dead end. Only until my co-founder said, listen, I'm out of here, was the reality check for me.
Wow. There's a lot that happened there. I mean, how does an entrepreneur get out of all of this? What mentality should you have in your mind to be able to overcome all of this downward hill trajectory?
Listen, the thing is, it comes to the person itself. Like, I'm very headstrong, like I'm very rational, you know, I try to take a step back, you know, sometimes, and think about, like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, I looked at my bank balance and I'd spent by then about $250,000. $250,000 is no joke. I could have paid off for a house. I could have bought a car. I could have done something else. So $250,000, and to get to nothing, and still getting to nothing. I was just basically digging my own grave by just spending all of that money and like cashing in all these favors. Like, I was sleeping on my cousin's couch in the US. And it was just like, well, what am I doing with my life? I'm like, you know, towards the end of my 20s, all my friends have got kids or have bought a house. And it's just me, like, couch surfing, trying to get this idea off the ground. But I was so adamant that, listen, I'm there. And I forgot about all the advice that people are giving me, saying, guys, take a step back, do step one, whatever. I was just so ignorant and so arrogant sometimes to say, I want to go smash this. I know what I'm doing. You don't know about construction. You don't know anything about anything. I know what to do. I've worked for the biggest companies. And it was that paranoia which kind of got me to a state where I was just like, I can't do this. I can't sit here and continue doing this. My co-founder is leaving me. You know, she's the CTO. Without her, the tech doesn't, who's going to manage the tech? And so we realized that what we're doing was completely wrong. We ended up sitting together because I didn't want to lose her as a co-founder, and we did a lessons learned, and we realized that the problem with us is that we just didn't have the right people, or we didn't have the right conversations to really validate what we were doing. maybe there's a naivety. Maybe even if I did have those conversations, I may have not listened just because of the mindset of my naivety. Or maybe I wanted someone, maybe like Zohair, who's a good friend of mine, and he's also been on this podcast, or some other people out there who have just basically said, shut up, gave me a couple of slaps and said, sit on this chair and listen to me. Because when someone does that to you, it does give you a self of like, wake up, like, what are you doing? To really realize, what you're doing, because I'm wasting time, I'm wasting resources, right. I'm wasting my co-founder's time. So it's not just my life I'm wasting someone else's life. And I'm also wasting the people's time that I'm sleeping on their couches, because I'm sure they just don't want some random 20-year-old just sleeping on their couch every single day, watching Netflix and watching, YouTube programs about how to raise financing. No one wants that. So it's really having that mindset, coming back up at 30,000 square feet and being like, what are you doing? Like, where do you need to start, becoming a little bit more better in how you're approaching whatever you're approaching. So I was able to do that, but many founders out there still go and burn money, sell their house, sell their cars, get divorced just to find this success in their startup.
And I think it's really important. I think when Zuhair was on the pod, he had a venture that he started, and at a certain point, it wasn't working. So he took a step back and he looked, okay, this is not working. How can I change it? What I can change with it? It's always important to get a step back, look at what you're doing, see how can I make it work. If it doesn't work, then let me get out and make it work in a different way. So you get to that point. Workpanda is functioning right now. Workpanda is functioning right now. You're working. How did you make it work?
So basically what happened, so when we had that self-realization where we basically got slapped by the accelerator company, they basically just left us for dead in America. My co-founder was like, listen, I'm out. I'm kind of running out of money right now as well, because I'm just burning cash. America isn't cheap, guys. Like, everyone's like, yeah, land of the dream, it's amazing, it's cheap, it's £1 to $2. Those days have gone, guys. It's expensive, right? You go out, this travel, train tickets, bus tickets, airplane rides going here, hotels. It's expensive. I'm just burning cash. I've made zero money since I left Saudi to going to America, and I'm just burning cash. I'm burning cash. It's like butter on a pan. You're just sieving through. And so that was really a reality check. Like, I would have gone like super broke if I didn't pivot my idea. And so what we did with Workpanda, we had $150,000 worth of tech just sitting there, but I couldn't do anything with it. It was stuck in this code, which has been built that I don't know how to use. My co-founder's like, I don't know how to code this. Like, this is not even built by me. And so we were just like, listen, it's a loss. We just cut our losses and said, what do we need to do now? Like, how can we still work together, but build something that's ours? By then, we kind of shifted. This was more than a year and a bit from leaving my corporate job to the startup world. We then started thinking a little bit more how YC founders think, a little bit about how to create a product, how to get to market, how to speak to customers, who the right people are, how do we get something out there? And when we started doing the lessons learned about where we failed, it was about the people, about how we spoke to people, how to get customers, how to raise funding, all that stuff that we didn't do for Workpanda. We had then basically come back and said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. And we're going to do it the YC way, which is super lean. We're going to build something that people need. It's something that people love. And we're going to do something that's going to absolutely, change the demographic of the Middle East. And the reason why we came back from America to the Middle East is because we just thought that this is where our friends are. This is where our market is. This is where we have got the most amount of connections. This is where we've got the most amount of experience. We also saw that there was so much money being pumped into the ecosystem in 2020 that if we were going to succeed, it's going to be in the emerging or the emerged markets. Sorry, the emerging markets, then the emerged markets. And so we traveled back to the Middle East. I started, asking friends, can I sleep on your couch? And this is really where Wasta came in. It was an overnight decision where we said to people, look, we will connect you up with anyone in the Middle East, right? And this was a LinkedIn post. We had this idea within a couple of hours, and we posted it pretty much the same day or the next day to say, guys, we will connect you up with anyone that you want to get connected with. And this is how it basically started. This is how Wasta started. It was we find someone on LinkedIn, whether we knew them or not, and we will connect you up with someone who actually asked for some support. Most of the time it was like, we need help raising money, or we need to find a co-founder, or we need to do X, Y, and Z. And we would basically go through LinkedIn and basically matchmake people through email. And for 6 to 8 months, we just used email. And hopefully some of our customers on here will see we just used email and then follow up with them saying, hey, how was your call? Was it good? And they're like, oh my God, it was so amazing. Like, I didn't know that, this guy does this or she did that, or, oh my God, our daughters go to the same school. And we were like, what? Like, this is so interesting. You're saying that you've never met this person. And everyone said to me, Shyam, this is never going to work, by the way, because we got LinkedIn and we go to networking events like Leap and Jitex and Step and stuff like that. And so we started testing. We're seeing this quick, literally instant like feedback. Like, this is the best thing ever. People love the name. Remember, I'm not Arab, right? So I think I can get away with using the word Wasta as an expat who's non-Arab, right? To come in and try to use that as a way to connect people. And people are like, oh my God, Sham, you can't. My Saudi friends were like, no, you can't use that. It's a very dangerous word. The government have banned that word in Saudi. And I was like, well, I'm an expat. I'm going to go in blind and be like, I don't know what it means. I just used it because it's a nice word and everyone can say it and everyone can spell it. It actually comes from India. It doesn't come from the Arab world. Play that dumb card, right? And obviously, I start wearing the hat. I get to Taco Star. I get to DIFC. I'm getting to ADGM. Everyone's like, oh, that's the Wasta guy. He'll connect you up to everyone. And then the brand, not even me, the brand started resonating, because when I say, oh, I'm the CEO of Wasta, it's not that they know me. They know what the word means. So they're like, oh, you're in the networking space. Boom. That started spiraling. And as soon as we started understanding how startups should actually come into market, we found that there was a massive opportunity to connect people together, not just in the UAE, not just in Saudi, but we brought Egypt into the conversation. We brought Lebanon, Jordan, Bahrain, Qatar, all these different entrepreneurs who are yearning to meet other people. And we just connected them together. And we used LinkedIn as a tool to start. Then we moved on to a no-code solution, which was costing us $30 a month. And then when we started scaling, we've obviously got an app now, our burn rate is only like $300 and we've got 1,500 customers on there who are using it. And so our burn rate is super low and we've got all these customers using it. And now we've got a wait list of thousands and thousands of people, but we can't accept them because our technology is not strong enough. So now we're building something. And we're going to try to build it out to a stage where it's a little bit more mature. And now we're really seeing this is what a startup means. This is exactly how a startup should come. Low burn rate, not spending too much money, good branding, position yourself, small team, boom. We've got the sequence. We've got the magic sauce. Now we're going up. People are signing up, the brands, going, the newspapers are picking me up, VCs are coming to me, angel investors, and we're like, sorry, the doors are shut, bye. The more we say no, the more people are like, we want to be involved.
Yes,
Before,
exactly.
when we were trying to sell to VCs, they were just like, not interested, whatever, speak to this person, that. Now, I run the show. People come to me and I'm saying, no, you wait outside like everyone else in the rain and I'll open the door when it's time for me to open the door. I run the show.
I'd love to hear that. And let me get, I have two questions to ask. First one is, we know networking, when we speak of networking, it's mostly, okay, I go to a network event, everyone speaks whatever they want. There's no real connection happening. How is Wasta changing that? How do you make sure on Wasta that a connection is happening where both sides are benefiting, where it's a mutual connection, where there's something coming out of it, it's fruitful and not just a regular networking event type of a connection?
So we're trying to disrupt two or three elements to the networking sphere. I think out of all the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that we've interviewed, the two common areas where we find people who are trying to grow their network, or three ways. Number one is traditional networking events, going to Jitex, going to Leap and Step and all these places, which are fantastic, no doubt, right? I've been to these events as well, right? But you see the same faces, and there's no way that you can have a meaningful conversation when people are walking around and talking and chatting and whatever. You're leaving it up to serendipity to really find out the people that you want. But for me as a founder, and for hundreds of other founders there, we've only got a limited amount of time to do networking and do everything else because we're wearing many hats. So networking events are hit or miss, right? You have to pay for parking, you have to travel. Listen, you go to Trade Center on event day, oh my God, can you find parking? No. Can you find your badge and print, blah, blah. It's a nightmare. I hate it. I think it's it's just crazy. I just hate it. It's just not me. I love networking, but I don't like going to networking events. Even then, like I can be the most extroverted person, but sometimes I can be an introvert. You know, I don't want to go up to some random person. Hey, what do you do? 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 Oh, hey, I'm a founder. Like you have to repeat it. After 3 times, I'm dead. I'm like, I want a coffee. I want to go. I'm done. You know, you can't spend hours and hours networking like that way. And so you spend all those hours, you come back with like 10 business cards, you don't even know who they are, and you just throw them in the bin. That's what happens. And if you say otherwise, you're lying. The second element is LinkedIn. Everyone is fucking adding everyone. Everyone's adding everyone. You know, just connect, connect, connect. I do that all the time. I add 300 people a week, not because I know them. I just want people to add me back. So my
Right.
brand, personal brand, is just off the roof, which it
Right.
is. I can post something. I post something today. In about an hour, I got 3,500 views, of
Wow.
which my inbox is just going crazy because I can write anything on LinkedIn, and within about 10 minutes, I can get about 1,000, maybe 500 to 1,000 views already.
Wow.
Right. So you look at the power of what LinkedIn does, but LinkedIn's a directory. It's not a place where people can meet each other because you're going to keyword search someone, you're going to DM them, do they respond? So it's just not a way to build your network. To maintain your network, yes, but to build new connections, unless you know of them already, you know, and they accept you, it's not going to happen. And then for some of us, the Gen Zs and the Gen Ys, dating websites, Hinge, Bumble, Happen, Deal
Tinder.
Mill, Match, Tinder, whatever. Okay, whether you're there for dating or not, people are yearning to connect with people. We
Right.
live in a transient ecosystem. People are moving to Saudi or Saudi to Dubai, Dubai to UK, UK coming back. But there is no app, there is no solution. And I'm sure there's other startups out there who are connecting people for shared goals. Okay, people want to go and date, that's completely fine. But to meet someone who's actually there to actually, I don't know, share information or just want to talk to someone who's in the same industry, there's nothing out there. So your question, what Wasta does, it is a solution which is mobile first, where we can bring your matches to you on your phone. Every week we give you one new match. So you match someone, but because we're using data, we're actually driving that connection. So when you meet someone, you're going to know that you've got 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 things in common already before you take that call. So when you have that call, you're like, oh, hey, you work for, you know, this startup. Oh, no way, I'm in food tech. Oh, you're in food tech. No way. Okay, that's amazing. Oh, who's your investor? Oh, no way, they're my investor. Okay, cool. Let's have a chat. That's meaningful. After about 15 or 20 minutes, you gauge thought to be like, hey, do I really want to speak to this person? Do I not want to speak to this person? A lot of our second conversations are taken offline.
Wow.
So people meet for coffee, people meet for dinner. And this is how you build meaningful conversation. This is how you build really good relationships. And we're not in the game of aggregating connections. We don't want thousands and thousands of conversations. We want you to have 1 or 2 calls a week and to keep in touch, which basically means that, hey, how's it going in 2 weeks' time? Like, hey, did you raise that money? Blah, blah. Because you don't know where I'm going and I don't know where you're going. You might work for one of my competitors or you may work for one of my clients. So I'll be like, hey, Ahmed, how's it going? We had this podcast, but in like 6 weeks' time, you might work for a VC. And I'll be like, hey,
Wow.
can you put me in touch with you? Now, this is good connections. This is what the Middle East is good at. It's using your mouth and being there in person. And this is something that we will never get away with. These businesses, which are coming from Canada, UK, Europe, America, guys,
They
you
don't get
can't
it.
put a circle into a square. If the Middle East and the Eastern region is good at word of mouth, we should stick to it. But let's choose better ways on how we engage, how we have those conversations, and how we stay in touch, right? Having thousands of connections doesn't mean jack shit, but keeping in touch with a small group of people who are aligned to what you want as a person, this is what it means. And as a person, who I am today and who I am in 2 weeks, I might be a different person. My likes and my likes and wants may change, but having something like Wasta, which is monitoring the data, and you can change your settings to give you that, drives more conversation. So where people say Dubai is the most loneliest place in the world because they don't have friends, Wasta comes in and supports them, get them back on their feet because it's very transient. People are always coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. A lot of my friends from 2011 have left. I have to make new friends, but I'm 30. I don't want to make new friends, but I do want to build connections where if I'm interested in crypto, I can still meet with someone and still feel that I've still got a friend in the community. This is what we're building. No VC understands what we're building. And to be honest, I'm thankful that they don't know what I'm building because we're building something big.
What's the vision in the future? Do you see yourself raising money? Do you see yourself IPOing? Do you see yourself keeping it as a what we call a lifestyle business? Where do you see Wasta going in the future?
So right now we're completely bootstrapped. Like maybe about 3 months ago, I had $50,000 in my bank account. You know, I spent all my Saudi money, all gone, all gone, everything, accommodation, you know, paying for my outsourcing, you know, marketing, blah, blah, blah. Money's gone. So out of like three months ago, $50,000 left, right? What we've done, we've created an umbrella, right? So we reignited Workpanda. So Workpanda was a tech company. We flipped it on its head based on the lessons learned from Wasta, and we're a people first traditional recruitment company. So we charge a percentage on gross salary, and we represent now, I would say, 10 or 15 of the top recruitment, construction, design, architecture, engineering firms across the Middle East, right? We're signed up to them and we hire. We've probably got 30 or 40 or active roles, and we've got a team in the Philippines who supports us in building that. There's no secret. It's a high margin business. So in the space of 3 months, we've generated so much money that we're now using that to bootstrap our tech company, which is Wasta. We basically don't need any outside investment because we're bootstrapping it through Workpanda. And then the PMC, which is my construction company, we do exactly the same thing. So we've got two high generating business, which are high margin businesses here under the umbrella. And then we bootstrap it into our tech company, which is our long-term plan to scale, because both of these are dependent on my time and also my employees' times, our team's times, to basically do something. But here we can sleep and people are still connecting. We can sleep and people are still connecting, and we're generating revenue through that, right? So Wasta is our baby that we're basically trying to grow. VCs, we spoke to all the VCs and we spoke to all the angel investors. I actually went in person to Saudi to meet some of these investors, right? All these people that you see, I invest in this, I invest in that, I did this, I did that. Great people, but don't understand Wasta. There's not many people, and this is my own opinion, I don't think there's many people who understand community building in the Middle East, right? And I'm not saying I'm the guru of community building, but I think that we have started to build the early signs of network effect and virality in a region which is very different to the US, very different to the UK. And this is what we're trying to basically grow. VCs just don't understand what we're trying to build. I just think that they asked us the wrong questions. They didn't really know how to navigate this because they're usually investing in edtech and fintech, which seems to be the hot topic amongst most investors. But community tech and smaller businesses, there's not enough ROI for them to really consider us. And I also spoke to investors in the US and also the UK who were interested, but the Middle East isn't a market that they felt that they knew enough about to invest in us, in which case we're stuck in a rut. Like, we need the money to raise to actually build this amazing product that everyone loves, but the ecosystem is just not ready for someone like us, or is not willing to take the risk or to diversify their portfolio to actually support us and to get into where we are. So if I can build a community first ecosystem where all these low-lying fruits, all these low-lying startups who are failing because investors and mentors and accelerator programs are not looking at, if we can create a community where everyone's talking to each other, we can create a crowd fund. We can create a fund among the community where everyone like yourself can fund through crypto, can fund through their own wallet, $10 or $20, $30, $40 amongst this ecosystem of high thriving entrepreneurs. And this is what Wasta is, because we're curated, right? We don't accept everyone. It's a curated community of people. And as long as we grow, and as long as we're doing it right, we grow the community above and beyond the inflection point, which basically means the point of diminishing returns, where people are like, oh, Wasta is crap. We don't want to use this anymore. We don't see any value. As long as we curate community in the best way, and we're still learning how to do that, I have no doubt that this will be one of the biggest platforms in the Middle East.
Just to let the audience know, I connected with you because I saw Wasta and I'm like, wow, I'm a connector. I did the first reason for me starting the podcast is to connect with entrepreneurs or like-minded people like me ahead of me in the game. So when I saw an app doing what I like doing, I got on it and I'm like, I'm meeting this guy. And I send you an email, I send you a LinkedIn, and I downloaded Wasta. Plug me in. I need to get in. I'm still on the wait list. I need to get in. But I
you need Wasta to go to Wasta. You need Wasta to go to Wasta.
Exactly. I mean, I love Wasta. I love what it's doing, and I believe in the vision you have because I'm a connector myself. So keep on doing it, as they say. You said you've built this ecosystem of different businesses that link to each other. Uh, from where you're standing, let's say in 2 months, I would come up to you and I'd be like, hey, Sham, start something new. what would be that business? What would be, based on what you're seeing, based on the market, based on the region, what would be that next plug into the ecosystem you're looking at? Or let's say you get out of recruitment and construction or connecting people, what would be that next business idea you would want to start?
It's a very difficult one because I can literally start a business like tomorrow. Like I've got the resources, I've got the team, I know the know-how to start things, but I need to understand the problem and I need to be passionate about the problem. I'm not
What
passionate
problem?
about fintech.
What
I'm not
problem are you
passionate
passionate
about
about?
I'm passionate about people focused projects, community building. I love community building, building communities, whether in person or online. I love creating communities. I love bringing people together. I like to create marketplaces where people can come together for mutual outcome. Helping people is fundamentally what I love. If you succeed, that brings joy in my heart. I don't care about the money side. I don't care about who's making more money and who's got the biggest car and who's got the fast car. If you're doing well, and this is why Wasta succeeded, because my personal trait is if you succeed and people have raised financing through Wasta, people have found jobs through Wasta, people have found, their co-founders on Wasta, people have moved countries of Wasta, Wasta has built their communities for them in different countries. They're messaging me, and you can go onto our website and check the testimonials. We're genuine people who want to help people. So I want to keep in the people game. The PMC, even though it's construction, it's a group of people who love construction, who are building something, architects, interior designers, project managers, the client, everyone's working together to build this. The byproduct is the construction site. And the same thing with recruitment. It's all about people. I'm a good recruiter because I have zero experience. This is zero. I don't know how to recruit. I went to Chat GPT and I found a recruitment what's it called contract. I put a contract together. I sent to my client saying, "Hey, I'm a recruiter," overnight, and that's it. Boom. He's like, "Oh yeah, we'd love to work for you," because I'm a people person. Done. I don't know anything about recruitment. When someone says, "Oh, you this or that," I'm like, "I don't know." They're like, "Okay, yeah, that sounds amazing." I started the brand. The brand started like we draw a random panda because our ethics are we're black or white. I only wear black t-shirts. Everyone knows that. This is a bit of me in this brand. So we made it. We said, okay, it's gonna be called Panda, but we also want work because people need to know that it's work related, but it's also black and white. So it's Workpanda. And my old business, which is called Graduate Surveyors, the logo is black and white. So it's like black and white, and it has to be resonated across the world. People should be able to say it and spell it, and also understand. So you can go to China and hey, Workpanda. Oh, is it Workpanda? Okay, cool. In the Arab world, in the UK. So we brought that together. We flipped it overnight, saying Workpanda, the new construction company. Boom, it's done. And then it's like, okay, we've got a recruitment company. So it's not about I'm thinking about creating something new. If I feel passionate about something, I will flip it, build it, get my marketing team, get Lolita, who's doing my tech, get someone else, and we'll build something within 24 hours. We'll launch it. There's a new business started. Okay. PMC started the same way. We started within 24 hours. And now I know all the real estate agents. I know all the contractors. We've got agreements with everyone. And guess how long that took me? 3 days.
Wow. You have the ecosystem ready, you have the people ready, you have the back office ready. You could start in seconds. I love this.
This is 10 years of hustling. I added 300 people on LinkedIn every month or every week for 10 years to get to 25,000 followers, right? And I don't know these people. I'll be honest. I'm going to say I don't know these people, but what in turn LinkedIn, the algorithm, the data has done has made my profile online in a digital first world where everyone's jumping on LinkedIn for work. I'm one of the biggest guys like on there now. I'm not the biggest, but I am a very outspoken person if I want to be, and I can say different things. And people will be like, what? And I can walk down the street and be like, we know who you are, not because they've met me, because I've got a big digital brand. So who's got the last laugh? For all the people who laughed at me 10 years ago, like, stop wasting your time on LinkedIn, crack on with your job. I'm laughing last.
I agree. Just to let the people know what energy you have. I emailed you and sent you a message on LinkedIn on Monday morning, UAE time. We're doing the podcast on Tuesday afternoon. This is how you responded to me in 5 minutes. You're like, okay, let's get on a call. We got on a call yesterday and we're doing the podcast today. This is you. And this is what I love. And this is why I'm enjoying this episode. I have two more questions before we kind of go down stuff. You mentioned people on Wasta, they do the connection and then they leave Wasta. Doesn't that create kind of a problem for Wasta because you're losing this revenue of people who connect on Wasta?
This is where everyone goes wrong. It's like, oh, they're gonna leave my platform and blah blah. Humans are gonna do that. Like, are you saying after you you on match on Tinder, you're just gonna chat to her while she's sleeping in your bed. No, you go offline. Like, this is what humans do. We're not supposed to live in the metaverse. I know this whole metaverse and virtual reality, wear these glasses. In my opinion, it isn't gonna work. We need to touch, feel, smell, do all these things that humans do. We cannot get away from that. Yeah, there might be an element where we want to like play VR games and you want to chat to people online, which is fine, but eventually that has to basically then go, back offline in a certain way. But what we've seen is that, okay, people are going offline, but they're coming back because they want to meet someone else.
Okay.
And they keep wanting to meet someone else. And we've done loads. When I mean loads, I mean like we know Tinder and Bumble inside out. We know exactly what they've done. We know how much users they've done until we raised. We know how much they raised. No one knows more about the social networking side than me. We have done so much research before we even written a code. We haven't even written any code for Wasta, by the way. It's all no code. Until we build something, we know it. We know what we need to do. We know what we need to scale. So when people say, oh, blah, 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 it's like, so what? And remember, we're not going to be VC backed. So I don't care what any investor says. Like, I'm building something that you need. And if you're saying to me that this is something that I love the name, and I love this, I'm going in the right direction because I'm building something that people love. And if people love something, forget about trajectories. Forget about, this ARR and MRR and Tam Sam Som and Yam 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 and this. I'm a very unique entrepreneur. I'm a very different startup founder. For other companies who want to follow the whole, I need to do this, and then I need to reach pre-seed, I need to raise seed, blah, blah. Okay, that's completely fine. And I appreciate that some companies have to go down that route. But for me, with all the rejection I've got from VCs and the aggression that I've got and the passion I've got, I'm building this the way I want to build it. And if I make a mistake, then that's my money. I'm making a mistake. What I can see right now with my business is in the last like 2 or 3 months, right? We're making good money. We're injecting we're building, we're scaling, our customers growth week on week. So that's it. That's all I care about. I don't care about anything else.
I love that. If you had a VC fund today, or from your experience, all the connections you had, you have the VC fund, who are founders or people you met in the region that you would want to invest in?
I would say similar people to me, people are just hungry to make a difference, right? I think for me, personality is first. I'm a people person, right? I know people who chat shit and people who are actually legit, right? And I'm very good. I speak to 30, 40, 50, 60 people a day. Remember, I'm a recruiter. I'm on the phone all the time. I work in real estate and construction. I'm on the phone all the time. I have to verify people on Wasta every day before they enter the community. That's 7 or 8 or 10 different people a day that I'm meeting. My network is amazing, right? So I'm on the phone. I know the people who are just going to give me lip service versus the people who are like, listen, this is me. This is what I want to do. I want to go hustle. It might be subjective. They may be the best actor, but generally I get a good instinct from people who I think give me the right feeling inside, right? Okay. And if I think that person's good, I will give you an opportunity, or I will give you the time of day. And you're the prime example. We don't know each other. Yes. You came across well. I liked you. We jumped online. We had a chat. Boom, it's done. That's it. This is how I am, right? But if I have an inkling that this is not going to work, then I'm like, take a step back, reevaluate. Is this person good for me? Is this person bad for me? I'll make a phone call. Have you heard of this person? 9.9% of the time out of 10, I will know someone who knows that person, and I'll reference check them straight away before I go in. That's how I roll. And people do that all the time because I'm connected to basically everyone. They, hey, Shyam, you know this guy? Okay, he's a good guy. He's a bad guy. She's a good person. That's a bad person. And so on and so forth. So if I was going to invest in someone from a personal perspective, it's going to be someone that evokes the same values as me. The go-getter, the hustler, the smart guy, the person who's come from adversity, the ethnic minority, the immigrant who came out with nothing. Build that. Invest in these people because I see the hunger in them. If I see the hunger in them, I'm down to hustle with them as well. I want to come on board. I don't do angel investing yet, but when I do, I'm going to start making some really good, moves with people who share the same goals and interests and values with me. And obviously, they'll have to be a Wasta user as well because I'm not going to meet anyone outside Wasta now. Wasta is my baby. That's where I cultivate my network, and I don't need to go to any of these other events because I'm building my own ecosystem. Right. And the last thing I want to say is that the people who laughed at me, and we had this conversation yesterday, the people who laughed at me 10 or 15 years ago saying, I'm not going to make it, you're wasting your time on LinkedIn, you need to go back to your 9 to 5, are the same people now who are using my platform, who are chasing me for leads, who are chasing me for work, who are trying to get my time. And I'm not saying I'm not going to give them the time, but he who laughs last laughs loudest. So if you're watching this podcast if you're watching this podcast and someone's emailing you or someone's LinkedIn message you, who could be a graduate or an intern or someone that you don't think is going to fit in, give them 2 minutes of your time and see what they have to say. Because in 10 years' time, that person might be running a global company. They could be the VC of the biggest fund that you're trying to raise funding of. You don't know how life works. And the 7 degrees of connection will prove you otherwise.
Yes. I believe in the 7 degree of connection. I mean, you could be connected to anyone within 7 degrees, and sitting and singing through it's true. It's really true. One last question. It's a fun one last question. It's a fun question, kind of. You've been through all this journey. You've lost all this money. You've made money. Have you got to the $1 million net worth?
It's a tough one. Like, as I said, like maybe about 3 months ago, I only had £50,000 in my bank account. And if my friends are watching this, they'll probably tell you that's bloody right. But I think maybe like 3 years ago, I was asset rich.
Okay.
Probably not a million, but close to, in terms of assets, cash in the bank, probably had that. But now, obviously, after the last couple of years, I've spent a lot of money to follow my dreams. And I'm just about getting through this very dark space that I was in for 2 years. It does take a personal toll on you. It's been tough. I'm very headstrong. I'm very like go-getter, but even you get knocked down. Even the toughest people get knocked down with some of the adversities, because your business life will fall into your personal life. And when I was building this, I was a corporate guy. I didn't know much. And when life kicks you down, it will kick you hard. And I've learned that. And I'm building myself up mentally to become a better version of myself. And I'm sure the people around me will see that as well. You know, doing small things, going to therapy, going to gym, thinking, you know, spending time by myself, also spending time with my friends. All these different things matter. If I was watching myself now, I'd be like, this guy, man, like I'm so strong mentally. I can do anything. Even someone like me who's super strong have breakdowns, like random breakdowns, because it's tough. You know, when you've got no money to live on and you're living on someone's couch and you need to pay your bills because you've outsourced things and you want to build this product that you've spent your time, energy, you've told everyone you're going to build this, and it fails, it hurts. It hurts inside that you failed, and failure hurts. And to give up your day job and to basically knock on the door and go back to it and saying, oh, can I go back to this day job? You know, some people just don't have it inside them. Fortunately for me, at the last minute, you know, touch wood, pray to the gods, aligned. The stars have last minute, I kid you not, have aligned last minute at the 5th hour when I was just about to pack everything in. At the 5th hour, someone has given me this opportunity and things have just gone like crazy now. And you hear this from entrepreneurs, like at the 5th hour where on the last one spin, they just have to roll the dice, double sixes. And for the whole time, they're getting ones and twos. And you roll double sixes. And then finally, right at the end, when you've been kicked down, you've been knocked down, you've been beaten up, you lost all your money, your co-founders left, you got no product, no one likes you, you know, everything. You've lost your girlfriend, you lost your wife, you lost your house, you lost your car, you lost everything. You roll double sixes and you're back up again. And you're back up again. And this is
I love that.
So if you're a startup after 2.5 years of going through these adversities, you're in it. And the losers will go back to work, or the people who can't cope with it. People like me and the other entrepreneurs that you've spoken about. You know, these are the people, man, who have gone through like some rough times. And I'm not saying I've been to the worst times. I'm sure there's other companies out there, but for me, these were quite treacherous times. And it's fun, but it's also very, very difficult to navigate these times.
I love that. Sham, we've had an hour of really great talk, great lessons of failure, of success, of learnings that were packaged through your journey and through your lens, that I think everyone listening to this episode later on is gonna love it, gonna like it, is gonna take away a lot from it. Where could people follow more of what you're doing? Where do you want to direct people? LinkedIn, Twitter, website? Feel free to do so.
Yeah, LinkedIn is definitely the place where you can get direct contact with me. Obviously, I get messages all the time. More than happy to respond, but it may take me some time. If you need any help in, you know, project management or construction or looking for a contractor, I can help you. If you're looking for investment or you're looking to meet someone new in the UAE, Saudi, Egypt, or places around the Middle East region, then please log on to wasta.ai. There is a wait list, but we promise to actually shortlist you over the next couple of weeks and months. And if you're in the construction space and you're listening to this, then we're more than happy to support you in helping you in your career. So that's just workpanda.io. And if you have any other questions, drop me a line and I'll be more than happy to respond.
Thank you again.